Good evening, everyone. Welcome. Thanks very much for coming. What I'd like to do is at 7 o'clock is open our public session of the meeting, and then so we'll hear what you've got to say. Can I ask you to be brief and to the point, and then allow any questions that members of the council may wish to ask. Can we kick off, please? Bill Biggs.
Yeah.
Bill, would you like to come and speak to us?
Okay, just doing the mascot last week.
By all means.
A couple of points. Council Film was aware of this, but I wanted to raise it here. The Burton road surface. When the road was resurfaced, the resurfacing has alleviated some of the problems we had because of vibration from heavy goods, etc. The latest resurfacing has created a new one, and the fact that where one lot of tar work was finished and the next one joined it, it's created a ridge in the road, and when heavy vehicles go over, local properties to it, adjacent to it, end up getting a lot of vibration. To me, it's a relatively easy fix. I reckon within a morning it would be fixed. I know Bob was asking where the actual location is. It's outside Peacehaven and Rosemount properties along Burton Road. They're actually next to my property going towards East Brent. Second point of 3 is within Brent Street, 30-mile-an-hour speed limits are on both sides of the highway, and to me they actually help motorists. It stands out that there's a 30-mile-an-hour limit because you've got a double. When you go outside there, Burton Road, Ham Road, etc., there's only one. So the question is, why is there a difference? And first question is, why is there a difference? The second question is, to me it would be beneficial to actually have double 30s across Brent Knoll itself. I don't know what the roadway going past the Fox and Goose, which also comes under Brent Knoll, is like. Maybe it's got one, none, I don't know. But I think the whole area needs looking at.
Okay, I'll take that up with highways. Okay.
And the third one is the A38. I sent an email to the clerk in June. It's following up on a report that was in the Burton-on-Sea News about upgrading the A38. I believe it was raised in the next council meeting here. It seemed to be as if the whole project was going to be in the future. They're already starting creating a storage area for all the vehicles, etc., near Junction 22 now. To me, I know they're probably working, I'm sure what they're doing is working at risk because it hasn't been fully funded as such. They've got to progress the work. What I want the Parish Council to do now is get involved with Somerset Council and Sedgemoor, while we've got Sedgemoor, to actually get in touch with the planners to ensure that this village is not affected by the roadworks. Because I've got a fear, right the way through from East Brent, down Burton Road, through Brent Street, this is going to become a rat run for people trying to dodge the work. We know the work's going to go ahead, it's obvious. There's going to be a string of them, because they're going to build this through about motorway junction. It's going to go all the way down the M5. One of the major ones for this being built is obviously the Bristol Airport.
I think if we were, if that were to happen, we would be given notice of diversions and potential road closures, which we'd have to respond to at that time. But I think all we can do is, I recognise your concerns, and I think it's a concern for everybody in the village, and we'll we will monitor the bill, and I think it's an important point you've raised.
I understand the monitoring side of it, but I think now is the time for this parish council and East Brent Parish Council to get together to actually get into the planners and say, right, what are your plans to safeguard this village, or the two villages at least, possibly Lyncham as well, and the fact that we're not going to put up with it.
Bob?
Yeah, if I can do a quick update on a couple of those. The ridge, I've had feedback from County today to say that they've been out, they've had a look, and they've looked at the ridge that you mentioned. The reason I asked you where it was so they were looking at the right place, and it is the same place. They've said they can come back and they think they can take that ridge off, so that is something that they're now building into their works, so that will be happening, hopefully. The 30-mile-an-hour signs on the road, I've also raised with the lady who does the signs and lines. She's due to come back and tell me why it's different, and I have said to her, if there's no reason for it to be different, can we have the same as we've got in Brent Street? So as soon as I get a reply from her, I'll let you know if there's a policy reason they can't do it, and if so, why can't they?
That's why I say we need to know why.
Yeah, and on the A38 bit, as yet, to be honest, the Eveley roundabout works haven't been agreed at all. The big area that's opened up at the moment that's near the caravan park that looks like a compound isn't anything to do with the roadworks. That's they've got a planning permission for them to expand the motorhome sales area. So in effect, what they're going to do is roughly where they were doing the maintenance, that's going to become another showroom, and they've got 2 more maintenance buildings that are going up on that neighbouring field, and then a storage area for them, so that is for their business. The access that is coming onto the main road is not part of the planning application, that's for them to do the construction of what they're doing. That should then be sealed off, and all the access to it should be through their existing entrance. In terms of the motorway roundabout, the bid is going into government to get the funding for it. If they get the funding, then there will be another round of consultation that will come out before they do anything else, and at that point, certainly, I think you're right, the parish council needs to be getting in at that stage to flag up potential knock-on effects.
Yeah.
But certainly that work that's happening at the moment isn't to do with the roundabout.
Right, okay.
Does that answer your concerns, Bill?
It does at present, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Mary?
Yeah. I'm sorry I can't stand up.
It's all right.
What I was going to ask the council, what is going to happen about the SIDS? When will they be the other way, up Burton Row, please?
As I speak tonight, I've taken down the old SID, and I put up a new bracket, if you'll see, where the old SID was, and you'll find that the Volis unit that we're using in Brent Street will be used on Burton Row and in, is it Station Road I'm talking about? And in Station Road. And hopefully, as a result of tonight, we'll move forward again, but I can't tell you that yet, because we haven't decided.
No,
But you will get the Volis unit in Burton Row, and I'm sorry that the one that was there is absolutely
it just
wasted
doesn't work.
space.
Yeah.
No.
It doesn't work.
We've tried.
Yeah.
We've tried for 3 years to get it to work. So you will have the Volis unit on your
On that road.
Burton Road. Yeah.
Thanks very much.
Okay. Thank you. Jeff, you want to talk to us about the development at Sunnycott?
Yes, if I could. I live adjacent to and adjoining the house that's expected to be demolished if the go-ahead for 2 new houses is given. The cottages...
Can you just qualify? When you say adjacent,
it's semi-detached property.
you are the semi-detached
I am
property.
adjoining the property.
No,
Adjoining property. They were built as gardeners' cottages in 1928-29, and up to 10 years ago they were both in good state of repair. Sunnycott has fallen into disrepair, as you all know, and the proposal is that half of Sunnycott is demolished and 2 new houses as opposed to bungalows, are placed in the ground back and forth of the property. These properties at Sunnycott are far bigger than the surrounding properties. They have about 90 square metres ground floor space, which together with the upstairs puts them into 1,500 square foot properties. They aren't bungalows. All the surrounding buildings are bungalows. They're not. At best, they're extended dormers, but they're not really extended dormers. They are really houses. My main concern is the flooding that we experience and Sunnycott experience year in, year out. Normally, between December and March, the high water table and the runoff from the knoll gives us 6, 8, 10 inches of water at the back and front of the properties. We are probably about 3 foot below the road on Brent Street. So the water has got nowhere else to go once the water level is reached, or the surface water, groundwater level is reached. So the runoff from the knoll with heavy rain comes straight down and ends up round the proposed development. Normally this is, as I say, December to March. We had it last week with the heavy rain. First time I've ever seen it in October. I think that's going to be increased with tons and tons of concrete being placed into the ground for the footings and base of these properties. It can only get worse. We're hearing about global warming all the time. We've got the conference in Scotland this week, and I think this is a ridiculous situation. In 2020, Sir John Bevan, who is the CEO of the Environment Agency, he said he had concerns about houses being built in flood areas, and it should only be done as a last resort. Well, this doesn't make sense to me. Other houses around the area are going to get flooded as well. The houses that are being proposed, they say one of the health and safety issues is that they must have flood defences at their door. So although it's in Brent Street, you're expected now to put flood defences to protect the property. And that's only from groundwater. That isn't from rivers or sea, which is the main source of worry for most people. The houses on Church Lane, because of the height of the 2 proposed properties, they're going to be overlooked. I noticed that the plans that you gave consideration to in September, you suggested that you were in approval of those. They have since been changed, and although we are still overlooked at the rear by the new houses, they have removed 2 windows and they've changed the fascia of the properties from brick to stucco finish, probably white. But this hasn't been changed on their original plans. So there is an anomaly as to what that particular finish is going to be. And then finally, the problem of Church Lane and the schools, additional vehicles, additional garages for the 2 houses. They're proposing to put 3 garages in the remaining part of the house that's standing. So it's going to be 2.5 properties on the site of 1 property. Church Lane by the school at 3:30 in the afternoon, 3:15 in the afternoon is a death trap. Kids are running across the road, parents are waiting outside. There's going to be an accident there one day. I hope I'm wrong. but more properties in that area are going to cause more accidents for possible children or adults. And I think that's all, that covers
Thank
more
you,
or less what I want to say.
Thank you. Points well taken. Any questions of Jeff at all as a result of that? No? Okay. Well, thank you. Thanks for summing that one up for us. Thank you. Ollie.
A bit more earlier, so hence I'm down here today. We've started a chat up with my architect and Mike Bellamy. We're looking at potentially trying to incorporate a lorry park into the site of Ollie's Cafe in the land that we own behind the main car park. Obviously everyone knows what's going on with haulage and lorry drivers, etc. And what they're actually saying, it's not actually the pay, it's actually the services that they've got available to them to stop at. So it was more about just sort of coming down just to sort of get an initial consensus from the parish, see if there's anything you want us to factor into the design. Obviously you're going to have to make a decision on the documents you receive and the plan application that goes in. But if there's anything majorly that you want us to factor in outside of landscaping, drainage and highways access as a whole. Really.
Ollie, will this just be for parking?
Yes, it could be overnight, so it would be overnight stop in, so they'll be able to do their 8-hour stops. So we'd look to incorporate a shower block, some sort of stopover. So the way we were looking at doing it was tying them in with a meal deal. So they pull up, they get their parking, they have an evening meal, they then stay the night, and then they go off in the morning. Again, they can stay in the day as well, but we would be looking, the numbers, obviously the night drivers that would stop during the day would be marginal versus the night time, if that makes sense. So we'd be looking at potentially what we've got in our head at the minute with the numbers, with the investment that we need to put in of somewhere between £500,000 and £750,000 to get the site to where we'd want it for it to work. We'd be looking at sort of between 80 to 100 lorries at night, and then probably 20 to 30 during the day, which would give us overflow parking for the cafe as it is, because at the minute we didn't realise at the time, when we put the extension in, we've got so busy, we ideally need a bigger car park anyway, which would then flow that out, we'd have the overflow spacing there. We'd have to do obviously something to make sure that it's landscaped right so it doesn't affect the people's view of the knoll from the motorway, etc. But we'd also need to do that to bring down the noise for the drivers so that they are getting a good night's sleep whilst they're there.
And what about the opening hours? Because you're clearly going to be open
Yes.
all day, aren't you?
So the cafe would look to, we would extend the opening times of the cafe. We would look to obviously open earlier so that it doesn't really coincide with our day-to-day trade that we've got at the minute. So we would be looking, most of the lorry drivers would be gone sort of 5, 6 in the morning, so we'd do them the breakfast accordingly. And then obviously they would have the option of an evening meal. We'd probably stop sort of 9 o'clock. We'd sort of say to them, the option of hot meals would be gone 9, 10 o'clock. With the option then of, in the unit that we'd put in that would house the modern shower, cubicles, toilets, etc. for them, we would then put some sort of cold food facility in for those drivers that have come through at a different time accordingly. But again, obviously, we're at an early stage. Obviously the architects are doing bits and pieces, and we would consult fully with sort of road haulage as well and see if there's anything we've missed that could make it a very good facility. We'd look at putting the Wi-Fi in for the drivers, appropriate lighting, security, fencing. Obviously we've got the natural greens, etc. around there as it is as well, which will deter people, because obviously there's a limit to what you can do, stealing, etc. from a lorry when you've got greens round 3 sides of the field that it would go in.
Any questions of Ollie?
Or is there anything you want me to specifically focus on in the application?
No, I think my own feeling, I don't know what others feel, is that you must speak with your professional planners and advisors and present your plans accordingly, and then we can assess them. And if you want, obviously, and I know you will, Ollie, you'll come back to us when you've got something in place.
So do you want to see those before we submit it? Would you prefer that, or would you rather comment once it's, how?
I think that's for Ollie to do with the planning, the appointed planning officer, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just whether or not, if there are things that the parish wanted to get in early, then obviously sometimes it's easier to amend plans at the early stage rather than when it's part of the process.
We don't want to get to a full-blown design point where we've got everything that's been done, and then you guys say, actually, we would have preferred it if you'd done that.
Yeah, come back and see us when
We've
you've
got some drawings, etc. Yeah, perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Abby, do you want to talk to us about 56 Brent Street,
Yes, thank you.
please? Thank
Good
you.
evening, everyone. I'm Abby Winterson, the proposer of the development of 56 Brent Street. I've taken on board all of your comments from my previous application and have consulted and taken advice from Sedgemoor Council regarding the design, which was one of the main concerns and objections last time I was here. Your objections regarding the design were over-dominance, over-development and overshadowing of Knoll Cottage. With this in mind, Sedgemoor Council have made suggestions and my architect has redesigned the plans, taking all of their suggestions on board. This has resulted in a drastically scaled-back dwelling. The dwelling would now be some way away from the back of Knoll Cottage and should allay any concerns Miss Barnes had. She had previously stated that she had no objections to a smaller dwelling. Regarding the boundary wall, I would like to point out that the boundary wall is actually my garage wall, and the original plans illustrated that a new wall was to be built. Finally, regarding the other points you made last time, which I would have addressed if I'd been given the opportunity, these focused on flooding and foul water. I had already, via my planning consultant, been in communication with the Environment Agency and submitted a full flood risk assessment. The foul water underground services will be sealed at the point of entry and drains fitted with non-return valves. I feel that I've taken on board and addressed with the advice of Sedgemoor Council all the points that led you to reject my application previously. That's all, thank you for your time.
Any questions about Abby at all? We're obviously going to look at these revised plans when it comes up, but any questions about Abby at all?
May I?
Yeah.
The document on grey water and foul water isn't on the portal at the moment. Have you got that documentation from your builder?
For the Environment Agency,
Yeah.
that has been submitted. I was given an extension and I had already been given that extension last time, but obviously you spoke after I'd spoken, so I couldn't actually say that. I had already been given an extension to comply with their suggestions, which was to put the bedrooms, they were originally downstairs, to put the bedrooms upstairs, and to put in a full assessment, which is now with the Environment Agency, and they have further extended that to deal with it, to assess it.
I'll be correct if I'm wrong, but on the website
Yeah.
there is no information about that. It's still saying that foul water, there's no information on how it's to be dealt with, and also there's nothing from the was it flooding?
Flooding.
Yeah, there's nothing on except an advice that no bedroom should be located downstairs. It doesn't say anything else.
Well, the assessment is with them. I read it this morning, including the one in so many hundred years risk of flooding, the alert for imminent flood and all the rest of it. I read all that this morning.
Is that
From the site, because it's not on there
It was
this morning.
from my planner, from Mark
From your
Heppenstall to the Environment Agency. They extended the deadline to the end of October, and I believe now that it's gone to the end of November, because obviously this has come back to you regarding the actual design.
Because the document that's on the website at the moment is the 10th of the 8th, 21.
Yeah.
So that was you, and it was saying the planning application indicates foul sewage will be disposed of via unknown. So
No,
that's
since then, because obviously I came to you in September,
yeah.
and I obviously recorded what you said, went back to my planner and said, what is all this about? And he said, I'll speak to the Environment Agency, and he has submitted a big document with lots and lots of information in it, which they then said they would look at, and because of that, they gave me Sedgemoor gave me the extension to the end of October. which now has gone to the end of November, I believe. So they definitely have that document because I read it this morning.
But, Abby, I
Yeah.
think my point is, we haven't got it this evening. We are not aware of that document.
Well, what can I do? Can I send you the document?
Well, it should have been on the portal, to be honest with you, because it's part of your planning application. But we'll discuss that at the time, but it doesn't help us in our assessment. We can only look on the portal at what we're actually given.
But Liam Evans is not going to give the okay or do any more. If the Environment Agency have said no, he's not going to say, well, actually, it's yes. He's obviously going to get that report, and if that report says no, he's not then going to say yes, is he? I would have thought that the design and the Environment Agency were the two main things that you raised.
No, but as I say, we're not aware of them.